What's up, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda. Hey, do you know this name? Hydrox? Hydrox, the cream-filled cookie? Well, hey, I want to give you a little bit of history on Hydrox and tell you that Hydrox is back. So, if you don't know this brand, well, you're off my Christmas list then. But Hydrox, you'd say, looks like an Oreo because it's actually the original Oreo. So Hydrox was started by a brand, and I believe it was started in 1908, which I think was the first year the Cubs won the World Series. So it's been around a long, long time. And actually what they tried to do is come up with a name that sounded very pure. So the funny thing to me is Hydrox kind of sounds like a chemical, but it kind of is, I guess. But it's supposed to represent water, hydrogen and oxygen, hydrox. Now, they actually used hydrox for other things too, that actually represented hydrogen and oxygen. But for whatever reason, I never knew that growing up, and I never really liked the Hydrox name. You know, it was funny because then I think, was it Sunshine Brands or something that made this cookie, then later was acquired by Nabisco, which was a later, no, it was acquired by Keebler, which I think was later acquired by Kellogg. And so Kellogg actually made these cookies under the Hydrox name for a while, and then they actually dropped it and called them Droxies. I actually like the name Droxies better, but it sounds a little feminine. The funny thing is Oreo came around much later, and Oreo just became the standard. I mean, you know, for whatever reason, you know, it's kind of like VHS and Betamax, you know, just one takes off, right? And so Hydrox had kind of a cult following, but obviously not enough to justify them being around. Now, you might say, Pete, how do you have an unopened box of Hydrox? Well, that's an interesting story, is that this company, Leaf Brands, recently resurrected Hydrox. And it's kind of an interesting story where, as I unbox it here, this is a legitimate new production, you know, cookie box. This is not something I got from 2006. Angel cookies. I'm going to unbox it here and kind of tell you that whatever the gentleman is, you know, liked Hydroxes because they're very similar to Oreos, but we're going to find out what makes them different. And he contacted Kellogg and kind of went through the process of getting them to admit that they weren't using the Hydrox name, got the copyright on it, ended up doing a bunch of research to figure out what was in Hydroxes and started reproducing them. And so this is what they look like. And they smell pretty good. Now, I do have, obviously, a case of brand new Hydroxes here. I will say, these were hard to get, man. I actually had to find someone who found these, I think in their Walmart or something, and then I paid a bunch of money for them to send them to me. So, you may have Hydroxes in your area. I know at one point, this company, Leaf Brands, was listing them on Amazon. I don't think that's the case anymore. But if you do find them, they're hard to find. Okay, so what do I have here? I have one lonely Oreo because I thought what we could do is compare. This is a modern Oreo. I just bought this to a Hydrox. Now, the Hydrox cookies were supposed to be more resistant to mushiness. So they were supposed to be, what would we say? Supposed to stay crunchier in milk. They were supposed to have a little bit less of a sweet filling. And they were also supposed to, I think, have a little less filling generally. Now, I will tell you that if I compare them here, the Oreo cookie is browner. The Hydrox cookie is blacker. They're both about the same size. And I don't know by looking at them that I would say either one of these has more or less filling than the other. They certainly seem like they have about the same amount of filling. And, you know, kind of flaking off in my hand. All right, so let's get to the business here. Let's go ahead and do the twist and disassemble. And as you can see, we've got the cream filling on there. We'll do a little taste test pretty soon. And then we'll do the twist and disassemble on the Oreo. And the cream didn't hold up, but as you can see, there it is. Now, I do want to test the crumbliness of the cookie. This is the Oreo. O-R-E-O. And it seems to be pretty crunchy. And let's try the Hydrox. Ooh, it's like harder. Okay, I mean, I don't know, man. If I were to break them blindfolded. I don't know if I could tell you the difference, but I want to now just test the cookie portion Oreo. Pretty good. Tastes like you'd expect. Kind of a graham crackery chocolate type of taste. Now the Hydrox. You actually can taste the difference. I mean, not in like a stark way, but the Oreo almost has a little bit of like a tart, bitter taste to it. The Hydrox tastes more like a kind of like dry chocolate crumble. I actually think it tastes better. So, and it just may be your palate, but that's how it is. All right, now let's get to the inside, the cream. Now, one of the things that I think actually Hydrox kind of had a leg up on is I think that Oreo has lard in it and Hydrox does not. And so Hydrox crumbles were used on like cakes. I don't know if they're considered kosher, but I think because they didn't have the lard in it, like the Jewish community preferred Hydrox. All right. So if that makes sense to you, let me know. I'm not going to be an expert on that. So I'm just going to take a little bit of taste of the Oreo filling, separate from the cookie. It's sweet. Kind of tastes like a regular vanilla frosting. Let's try the Hydrox one. It's funny that I feel like I read that the Hydroxes didn't have as sweet of a filling or cream, but I feel like that is sweeter. I mean, they're very similar, and that's why one isn't around anymore. But I do actually feel like the Hydrox actually is a sweeter filling. I mean, it's actually delicious. So is the Oreo. But isn't there enough room for two brands of a similar cookie? So anyway, that's what it is. I will definitely, I'm definitely pretty impressed that Hydrox is back. Thanks to Leaf Brands for not only doing the legwork to, secure the brand and the copyright for it, but to have the gumption to go out and research it and bring it back to the market. I think the world is better off with Hydrox. I remember, specifically looking for Hydrox over Oreos when I was a kid. I'll be honest, I think they were cheaper. But, it's pretty cool that they're back. And even though they may be in a very, very limited, production, or at least I have never seen them around here, the fact that they're out there is almost like kind of a cookie unicorn. So check it out. You might be able to put Hydrox back on your table if you were a big fan. Peter Von Panda, out!